The long-awaited military aid to Ukraine is already in European ports. So, the first batch of American armored fighting vehicles Bradley arrived in the German port of Bremerhaven. In addition to them, armored recovery vehicles, anti-aircraft missile launchers and pickup trucks also left the transport ship. Also, 20 APCs left for Ukraine from the Spanish port in Bilbao. The Spanish government plans to ship up to 6 German-made Leopard 2 tanks in the near future.
Russia lost more than 2,000 tanks and Ukraine lost up to 700. The Western allies' decision to provide Kyiv with the latest tanks, Leopard Abrams Challenger, could lead to a less aggressive and less confident Russian tank offensive, as the crews will be more concerned about the level of threat to them. Henry Boyd, International Institute for Strategic Studies representative, in an interview with Reuters.
The U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin is also convinced that Western military assistance can provide Kyiv with a tangible advantage over Russian forces during the planned counteroffensive of the armed forces of Ukraine in the spring.
Our goal is to make sure that we give Ukraine additional capabilities so that they can be not only be marginally successful, they can be decisive on the battlefield in their upcoming offensive. And so you've seen us move to provide Bradley fighting vehicles. You've seen us move to provide Strikers, Martyrs, Leopard tanks, and a number of other things that we're pulling together to provide them additional capability.
In turn, NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg believes that the outcome of the next phase of Russia's war against Ukraine will be decided in the battle of arms logistics.
I welcome the new pledges of support made by NATO allies, including more heavy weapons and military training. This is critical. Ukraine has a window of opportunity to tip the balance, and time is of the essence. This is now becoming a grinding war of attrition, and a war of attrition is a war of logistics, and therefore this is so crucial for our ability to ensure that Ukraine wins, is able to retake territory.
NATO countries also plan to increase the production of their own ammunition. In particular, some countries of the alliance have already signed additional contracts with suppliers. Also, according to Stoltenberg, the North Atlantic Alliance is considering the construction of new factories in order to continue to help the Ukrainian army without depleting its own reserves. Thus, the Pentagon plans to increase the production of its own ammunition by 500%. According to the chairman of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, the U.S. and NATO are ready to help Ukraine go on the offensive to liberate the territory occupied by Russia.
In Ukraine, the Russians faced not only the iron will of our people and armed forces, but also the merciless Anglo-Saxon logistics. That is, the main participants in this scheme are Great Britain and the United States of America. Thanks to the constant systematic deliveries of weapons and ammunition, Ukraine has a chance for further development of success. This logistics, as Stoltenberg said, should help us.
Thus, according to the estimates of the International Institute for Strategic Studies, Russia has lost about half of its tank fleet. Western sanctions prevent Russia from making new heavy weapons using microprocessors.
If we talk about the types of tanks, there is an interesting point here. In Russia, the number of tanks of only one type has increased. These are the T-90M, new tanks that are being produced now, and their number has grown from 67 at the beginning of last year to 100 at the beginning of this year. That is, we see that the Russians were not even close to being able to compensate for the losses incurred. They are forced to replace modern tanks with antiquities from storage bases.
But at the same time, the Russian army managed to maintain its air force. According to experts, the invaders can use them more actively at the next stage of the war in Ukraine. In turn, British intelligence believes that Russian aviation will not be able to be effective enough because of the Ukrainian air defense. Reported by Dana Kolesnik, Христина Домбровська, UATV News.